All right, guys, so sorry for the delay in these questions. We had some emergency kind of things going on, so we are ready to go now. Apologize. I'll try not to let that happen again.
Denise N says, "Hi, Robert. I've been doing the down on recall training with my 17-month-old male lab, Grant, for almost a month now. One thing I've noticed when I call Grant and say the down command, he travels further toward me, and I have to repeat the command several times to make him do it. He ends up lying close to me rather than halfway. Can you suggest a way to make him lie down on command, or I mean for the whole process to be successful?"
Down on recall? Mm-hmm. So I'd wonder, are you saying down, calling the dog down, then when he downs, are you then rewarding him, like saying, okay, come, or paying him in the front? Usually that's the biggest mistake. What I would suggest to do, first of all, don't do it too much. Don't use the down. If you say you've been doing the down on recall for a month, I think you're overdoing it, more than likely. What you should do is let the dog run around and then say down. Just like a down on a send away. People overdo it. Get the dog excited, down him. Excited, down him. Excited, down him. Then once or twice, maybe twice a week or 3 times a week, call the dog to you, down, and what I would do is I would move towards the dog, step into the dog, down, 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 as you're walking into him, and then only ever reward him with the cookie behind him or the toy behind him. Don't ever call him to finish. But if you're not doing that, that should fix it. If you're doing that, then we got another issue. But that's what I would suggest. More than likely, you're not doing it. Most people don't.
Okay, Monica O says, "Any recommendations on how to get a dog to stop barking when he wants something? He loves people, and when around a human he loves, he will bark at the person. As soon as the person stops giving him affection, he begins barking again. We have tried putting him on a leash and giving leash corrections. We have tried person ignoring him, but it does not stop the barking. He can literally bark at my friends for hours. As soon as they pet him, he shuts up. They stop, he barks. It's driving me nuts."
Well, you see that this is a completely formed behavior, right? One thing, he's learning to only stop barking when he's getting what he wants. So what I would do is I would put the dog, and again, I do not do leash pops on this because that's not going to be that's not a good idea. What I would do is I would put the dog either in another room. I just wouldn't let him meet people because he's going to do that. So I would have the dog in another room, maybe bring the dog out for a couple of minutes to meet people, then put him back in the other room. People are not there to see him. That's what he's doing. He's getting into this mode like these people are here to see me. And he's initiating and playing and pushing and stuff like that. It can be cute if it's trained properly. Like Jimmy will do it to initiate a game, like to start playing, like when Gianna was doing agility with him. That's what she used to get him excited. But he never really did it in his whole life to just go up to people and start barking. He never did that. So your dog is a little bit out of control, and I think you should put the dog away when people come over so that he just learns to settle down. Because it's just not making him happy. It makes him frustrated until he gets what he wants, and I think it's going to annoy your guests, and obviously it's annoying you. So put the dog in another room, bring him out for a couple of minutes, put him away.
All right. Grace says, "Hi, Robert. Hi, Janet. Hi, Grace. I train my Malinois Toby several times per day and play with him outside in my garden. However, he wants to go outside again and again, but refuses to stay and play outside without a person. Even if Daisy is with him," I think Daisy's the Jack Russell, right?
Right, I think so.
Even if Daisy is with him, doesn't matter, and he barks and scratches the door asking me to come out. If I open door to let him come in, he refuses and barks even more. What should I do?
These are all issues that are, this one and the other one, and a lot of you guys have this. You really kind of emotionalize the dog, and you think, well, I've got to give them what they want, or I'm going to pet him so he stops barking, or I'm going to open the door so she stops scratching. There comes a time where you have to kind of buckle down and use some tough love. In other words, you can't, unless you get in this situation where you really are going to end up being 24 hours a day a slave to your dog. And that's not happy times for the dog. It's not happy times for you. It's frustrating. So you need to work the dog past it. You need to make sure the dog knows, okay, you're outside, that's it. You're not going to scratch the door, and if you scratch the door, I'm going to come out, I'm going to tell you stop scratching the door, but I'm not going to give you what you want, which is playing. You must control the play. You must control the interaction with your dog. And this is the exact same question as the dog is barking for attention. The dog is learning how to figure you out, and smart dogs do that. Like they'll nuzzle your arm, like nuzzle, nuzzle, nuzzle. And at some point you go, hey, lie down. You give the dog something to do. Take your dog, put her outside, and just feed her when she's outside. Put the bowl on the other end of the yard and put a fence up that if she's going to come to the door, okay, fine. Then we take the food away. Sometimes this tough love will help the dog get a clearer picture of what's expected of them and give them a happier life.
All right, Lauren is training staff at a large municipal shelter.
Nice.
It's got to be a big job.
That's a tough job.
Good for you.
Kudos to you.
Got to be tough. Any guidance for jumpy and mouthy adult shelter dogs? We get this type a lot. I can get beautiful engagement, but volunteers and kennel staff struggle. And as you know, the dog's intention doesn't matter. If a tooth scrapes skin, they go to quarantine. Even when I'm the handler, sometimes the high jump up and tag with teeth is so fast that I can't correct because just as quickly the dog is offering a beautiful sit with eye contact. Might happen if the dog isn't getting 100% of the handler's attention for even a brief moment, or if not treated fast enough.
What I would do, you want to reward 4 on the floor. Before you do anything with engagement or anything too high a drive in a shelter type environment, you want to get a good calm sit. And the way I would do that is I would watch my video on teaching dogs not to jump. And the way I do that is by putting my foot on top of the leash. I've done it in the shelter tons of times. Put your foot on top of the leash, hold one side of the leash. You're probably using a 6-foot rope, like a slip lead or something. So your hand is in the leash, your foot stands on top of it, and the dog jumps, you have it. Now, when the dog doesn't jump, you can kind of walk. But every time you get to a point where there's some kind of a loose moment, like where the dog could jump up, I'd have my foot on that leash, and I would work that with the dog ad nauseum. Because that is a big, big piece for shelter dogs. They're going to jump up, they're going to scrape your arm, they're going to scrape your face, they're going to scrape something. Get them to learn not to jump up. It's a huge skill for a shelter dog.
Okay, Margaret says, hi, Robert. We have a Malinois Cane Corso mix.
A Malinois Cane Corso mix?
I'm reading what it says.
Wow.
And she is 2 and a 6-month-old male, Mal. She has just had her season and was separated from the pup at times for her to have downtime, as she would not leave him alone. Prior to her going into season, they got along great in the house. However, now her season is over, and she will snap at him and has a very low tolerance of him in the house and will go to our room and hide under the covers or in her crate on walks. She does not do this and is happy to play. This is the longest sentence in history.
Okay.
And be with him. Any advice on getting them back on an even footing?
A Malinois Cane Corso cross is, I certainly hope it happened on accident. You're just dealing with a juggernaut of drives, of behaviors. It's completely opposite. I mean, they're completely worlds apart. The dog is more than likely not very stable. The dog is not very, biddable, is what I would say. If a dog is snapping at my dog, I'm going to correct that dog. Now, I would tell you, I would be super cautious in coming down with physical corrections on the Malinois Cane Corso cross. But you're going to have to either do that or get rid of this dog. And I don't mean give it to somebody else. This is going to be a lot of work. She was probably tolerant of him in season because she wanted to mate, and I certainly hope that didn't happen. But you need to control the dog. You need to make sure you have a line on this dog. You need to be able to physically, obviously, whenever you correct a dog, you need to physically be able to handle that dog, the size of that dog. And if you can't, that's not the right dog for you. So I would say, structure, basic obedience training, engagement. Separate this dog out until you can get this dog under control for you to listen to you, then introduce distractions. But if a dog comes down and snaps at my dog, Maya's tried it a couple of times, and she got corrected for it, and she doesn't do it. You know, it's not acceptable. And if she did it, she's going to get corrected again. I don't care if she's 2 years old or 12 years old. I don't accept that, and I don't think you should either.
Do you think in this situation, spay and neuter would improve the situation at all, or?
If she's in heat, yeah. But the thing is, some dogs, when they get spayed, females will become more dominant, but it would kind of take that seasonal edge off of her. And if she's not dominant in another way, then yeah, I mean that's a great point. I mean, why would you even have a dog like this that's intact? I'm stuttering because I'm speechless. Spay that dog, yeah, for sure.
All right, Tyler says my female Malinois is 11 months old from a working line. Mika and I recently moved to Alaska. Must be exciting.
And Nika's the dog?
Mika's the dog.
Mika is the
and they
dog.
moved to Alaska.
Alaska, huh? Nice.
Before snowfall, we were on Kenai Beach near our home on lead doing some training when an off-lead Malamute attacked me. Eesh. Mika did attempt to protect me, but she was only 4 months old. I got 43 stitches.
Wow.
Mika's tongue was split, and she got 9 stitches. Oh, gosh, can you imagine? She is now very reactive toward other dogs. We train every single day in public and at home. But I cannot get ahead of her reactive tendencies toward other dogs. We are training for PPD, and I need some guidance. Thank you.
Well, first of all, she's only 4 months old. And even though this is a really traumatic experience for a young dog,
she's 11 months now. She
11
was 4
months.
months when this happened.
Yeah. But I'm saying,
Yeah.
so you know, at 4 months old, dogs will start to work through that, and it takes an incredible amount of time. It's not something you're going to do. I mean, I know maybe you watched the video with Sunny, which was the third in that series. The reason that worked in 3 sessions because the dog was just nutty, drive-wise, but didn't have any bad experiences, hadn't been attacked, hadn't gotten in a fight or anything like that. And curbing that, my idea was to prevent that from happening. With your dog, I would work obedience, engagement, focus to you, and then I would really start to work into the realm of other dogs around. But I would do that at a distance, but I would not do any of that until you have a better handle on the dog without the stimulus. That's really going to be critical for you. But at that point, the dog is going to need to see that you're in control. And, you know, the fact that you got attacked, first of all, it's a Malamute, it's a gnarly dog. It's a very, very, very strong dog, and 43 stitches. God bless you. You know, I mean, whoever did that, I would have shot that dog. But you need to show the dog in some fair way that you've got this, right? That it's not going to happen again, that you're in control. That's really the pack order kind of thing. The dog is going to always defer to the strongest one. Now, she saw you get kind of, quote unquote, beat up by this other dog. So she's in this place where she's going to be very reactive. Until she sees, hey, knock it off, and nothing happens consistently over and over again. That's your only hope. That's the only way this is going to work. There's no other way it's going to work. And I would just keep at it. Your dog's worth it.
I hope you both recover.
Yeah, I do.
That's a scary one. Okay, Chris F. says, Bia, 4 years old.
Bia?
Bia.
Okay, 4.5 years old.
Can you recommend someone in the Dallas-Plano area? Reactive towards other dogs and sometimes humans.
Yeah,
And
but if you want a referral for a dog trainer, send me a message, and Alan shouldn't put these in here. Send me a message and have Alan forward it to you. And I know people in the Texas. I believe I know somebody. I believe my friend Rick is in the Dallas area. Just send me a message. Sorry because I can't give you the information like this.
I'm going to finish reading.
Yeah, finish them.
Okay. Reactive towards other dogs and sometimes humans, and statues of animals. Also horses. We have been together 3 years. She is my service animal, and I want to learn how to handle this correctly. Any videos you have that shows how to train them for reactiveness? Thank you.
Well, if she's reactive, she's not going to be a good service animal. And I go through this all the time, and if you really need a service animal, then you need a service animal. If you have a pet that you want to take with you everywhere and they're reactive, then you can fix that. But in my opinion, and this is sometimes not very popular, Let's say your dog is a seizure alert dog. I don't know, hypothetically. And that's the service this dog performs. And you're about to have a seizure and your dog goes off on a statue of a dog or a person. You will die of a seizure because your dog's not performing a service. So if you have a serious medical need for a service animal, I would suggest you get another dog so that you can live another day. That's critical. Now, if you want to have a service dog, like a pet with a vet service dog, and I'm not being facetious, but this is really a tough topic, then train that dog, and I'll refer you to somebody who can help you train that dog. But in the meantime, I don't know, your dog is not able to perform the service. That's my issue with it. So, and I see it every day at Gold's Gym, people with service dogs that are not really servicing anything. So.
Emotional support dogs.
Yeah, but it's still emotional support. Like if you had PTSD and you needed a dog for that, and your dog is going off on other dogs or statues or people or whatever, I mean, it would put me into a PTSD mode. I mean, I would trigger my PTSD. If I don't have PTSD, by the way, maybe a little bit. But I would certainly not want that dog. I would leave that dog home and as a pet and have fun with it. And I would have a real service dog that would help me with that. And you might be ticked off and want to quit your membership. But again, the thing here is I don't really do this site to make money off the masses. I do it to promote good dog training and the best thing for dogs. And some dogs aren't cut out for bite sports and protection work and police work. I had a long talk with my buddy Michael Gooseby, Steve Stoops, and I talked over the weekend. I got some other people coming in. People do their dogs a great injustice by putting them into positions that they're not capable of handling. And real service dogs are real service dogs. I mean, I could show you real service dogs. I've seen them. And we have one who lives with us who's was a guide dog. That was his job. He just checked out at the very last part. But that's a service dog. He's completely, totally bulletproof. That's what a service dog is, not one that goes off on other things. So again, if you're unhappy and you just signed up, I'm happy to give you money back for your membership.
Okay, Kyle L. says, my Malinois Scooby has been in training for a year with fear-based aggression and has seen little progress. He recently bit my son on the back of the leg for the second time, and I am potentially needing to give him up, even though I love him with all my heart. I am so sad and can't imagine giving him up. I want to continue training, but my family thinks I shouldn't. Most of the rescues and shelters are full that I have contacted. Do you know of anywhere I can send my beautiful Malinois that can continue his training and give him proper love and care? Thank you.
I get emails like that every single day, and I'm so sorry. It's a tough thing. Fear-based aggression is one of the hardest to deal with because the dog is fighting for its life. So I would be very careful. And I totally understand you love this dog with all your heart. I hope you love your son as much, if not more, and you'll do right by that. If you're not getting anywhere with the dog in the training you're doing and in watching what I'm saying to do here, then that dog might be beyond your ability, right? And that's not a bad thing. Like we talked with Michael today, and he talked about this dog biting the handler and biting the handler's daughter, the owner's daughter. And he worked with the dog, and the people did exactly what he told them to do, and he was able to do it. But that's not a thing that always happens. Like there's some dogs that just aren't too much for the people. Especially with fear-based aggression, it's a tough one because when you start to correct the dog, then you're putting more fear and more boogeyman onto the dog, and that's what I would be super careful about. But I really don't know anybody, and yeah, all the rescues are full. I mean, there's the couple Malinois rescues, you can see them on Instagram, or you just Google Malinois rescue. They're looking to get rid of dogs, not take dogs in. But I mean, I wish you luck. I do not know anybody offhand. I'm so sorry.
All right, Jen H. says hi and thank you for your videos, training, and help. You are amazing and have been a blessing to us as we learn how to properly train and care for our 8-week-old female Belgian Malinois puppy, Angel. I watched your tug videos and put it into practice yesterday. I followed your guidance and she did great for the most part. However, 2 separate times she came off the tug and went for my arm instead, trying to tug and bite and teeth.
That's a good dog.
What should I do in those situations? What I did, I remained still, stopped all movement, said no, and then tried to re-engage her with the tug toy. Was this correct?
No. A dog is going to bite whatever's in front of it, right? That's the number one rule of dog training. Dog's going to bite whatever's in front of it. At 8 weeks old, the dog might be a little too young to be doing tug. That's my opinion. I would maybe work on luring and shaping things, because what's going to happen, the dog is going to have a bad experience with tug, and then it's not going to tug with you later. You're not going to do any harm to this dog by waiting until, after 16, 18 weeks until their teeth come in to do tug. If the dog has a drive for tug, it's going to tug. Now, if you're kind of now that, the horse is gone, you're closing the barn door, the idea of when a dog goes to bite you and you yelling no onto the dog now thinks you're telling the dog no on the tug. So you want to be gentle. You want to have a toy, have them biting it, and when they come off of it, have another toy to present to them. Because when you present the same one back again, inevitably you're reaching for it and trying to get to it, and your hand is going to be in the way. If the dog bites your hand, you can say owie or something like that, or hey, whatever, to mark to the dog that it's not what you want. But it shouldn't be aversive, especially if you want the dog to keep tugging. If you don't want the dog to keep tugging, and you keep telling it no, it's going to stop tugging, and it's going to be really suspicious of tug because they're getting corrected in it. But a dog biting the wrong part of something early on, that's just your fault. That's just the way it works. It sounds like a really nice dog.
All right, Ilana has a dog named Fiat.
Fiat.
That's
okay.
cute, huh?
Very cute.
Thanks for all the work you do for us. It's really helpful. As I have mentioned, I have a Malinois that is really good working, but I have a stay problem. She does it at home, the park and all, but when we are at the agility training, it's like she wants to run now. I have seen the video that says, don't call the dog over, but I don't know how to do it at the agility field. I need her to wait for my call to start.
I'm going to let you answer that because you solved that problem with Dwayne Mayer.
Yeah, I had that exact problem with Dwayne. Dwayne wanted to go.
Switch the camera over to Janet.
He didn't want to sit and wait. How did I fix it?
FEO.
So what?
FEOs.
Yeah, well, before we got to that point, we had a lotus ball. And start with a short distance, put him in a sit, maybe take 1 or 2 steps away, and release okay. I wouldn't call him with his name. I'd have a release word. It might not be okay. Could be anything. Let's just say it's okay. And then toss the lotus ball behind it. So the dog is releasing behind. And work on that for a while. Build up your distance a little bit and your time a little bit and put a little bit more movement into it. And reward the dog for sitting.
Yeah.
A dog like a Malinois is going to have a ton of go.
Yeah.
So you don't have to really worry about.
Yeah. You said something good, reward the dog for sitting. And that's something that doesn't ever happen in agility. And you might even, once you do it a couple times in class, because you told me about this, FEO for exhibition only. So you can tell the judge, I'm going to go FEO. And you come in and you can correct the dog a couple times. Sit, no, sit. And then reward that, right?
Yeah, you can use a toy, but you can't throw the toy. But that's really helpful when you're just getting going. Or, people do it all throughout their agility career. Just do it for exhibition only when they're working on an issue.
Yeah.
And it's nice because you can just, break it down into small pieces.
Yeah. And Dwayne does great on it now, so it works.
Yeah, now Dwayne's like a little statue.
Yeah, he's perfect.
Well,
you were frustrated too.
I was frustrated. It is frustrating. We
Very.
lost a lot of cues because
Yeah.
he would go before I was ready, and he's so fast, then I would be out of position, and it was just like...
And it's easy for me, like I used to tell Jen, I said, he's going to get it, don't worry, he's going to get it. And she was so frustrated. But that's why you have a partner who kind of helps you and supports you through it. And Janet helped me with a lot of times with Goofy. When I was frustrated. She's like, no, he's going to get it. But, Janet came into Goofy's life back when he was like 6 or 7, when you came.
He was already a genius by the
Well,
time.
but he still had little issues. I mean, every dog is going to always have issues. You're constantly trained. Mike and I were talking. Those police dogs train every single night. Every single night. It's crazy. So.
Well, the good thing about a dog who breaks a start line is he wants to do it. He wants to go. So
Don't
that's
crush that spirit. I would not be harsh on that dog for that, breaking that thing. Be careful with that, because then you're going to have a dog who's going to be like hesitant to come off the line.
I mean, I know a lot of people who don't really care about a start line, but they probably don't have the fastest dogs. And a
with
Malinois
I would definitely worry about it.
in a few bounces is going to be out in front of you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, Jack says, good luck with that. That sounds
Good luck,
fun. Yeah. Jack says, howdy, Robert and Janet. Howdy, Jack. A theoretical or philosophical question for you.
I love those.
How much did man create dog, dog create itself, and or dog create man? What would modern Homo sapiens look like if we did not have our dog companions to help us when we were neophyte hunters and before agriculture had been developed? Probably a subject for a book or two, but I thought it would be fun to hear some of both of your insights and thoughts. All the best.
I'd love to do that in a different video. I'd love to do that in a full video for YouTube or Facebook. But there is obviously very much a co-evolution of that process. And the first part of it is that wolves that kind of ventured out from the pack and started seeking out humans became more friendly. Then we became more friendly to them. We help dogs immensely by breeding, by rearing them, by training them. But they, in the early days, helped us a lot with hunting. And that's something that, people don't want to acknowledge. But I think the most fascinating part of it really is the co-evolution, like the things that dogs have come to symbolize to us and be to us, like our best friends. Like so many people couldn't imagine their lives without, Janet and I couldn't imagine our lives without dogs. We love, love, love our dogs. Then you look at all the service dogs do. Police dogs, military dogs, search and rescue dogs, bomb sniffing dogs, hostage rescue dogs, human remains detection. It's just so many different things they've done. That's not even counting just being service animals, guide dogs and pets. I'll do that in a video, but yeah, it's a great question. I love it. Thank you for asking it. And thank you for having that kind of an interest in dogs. It's really awesome.
Well, I think it's a great question. And what came to my mind was a book that I loved as a child called The Island of the Blue Dolphins.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a wonderful story.
What's the name of the dog?
Rontu.
Rontu.
And Rontu Aru. And it's sort of true, but sort of fictional, about a young woman who lives alone on San Miguel Island, which is a little island out in the Pacific. Mm-hmm. And she gets left behind by her Indian tribe, and she lives alone on the island with a pack of dogs. And it's just an amazing story about how they depended so much on each other and the relationships that developed between them.
It is amazing.
It's not very scientific, but that's what came to my mind.
I don't think he meant scientific, but I think he's maybe more emotional from that side.
It's a great book even for an adult.
Read it.
Island of the Blue Dolphin.
Island of the Blue Dolphin. Okay.
Okay. Jordan says, no questions this week. Just wanted to thank you for everything you do and this platform. I've learned so much, and my 5.5-month-old German Shepherd is at the top of his class.
That's awesome. Thank you.
He is used frequently in our group class environments as a demonstration dog, and I credit that to you and your videos.
Thank you.
That is so great. You feel so good when your dog is doing well.
I feel bad because so many you guys had these questions, and it's not my nature, and Janet will tell you that, to just sugarcoat stuff and say, I'm just going to tell you the truth. And if it upsets some people, that's why some people quit their memberships. It's not because the content is good. It's just because they don't hear what they want to hear, and that's just not who I am. So when I hear that because what I'm telling you is what's best for you and the dog, 100%. I have no other agenda. I'm not going to get, super rich by lying to you and getting a couple more members or whatever. I don't care about that. I care about whatever I tell you is exactly what I believe the truth to be through my experience and stuff. So thank you for that. It means a lot to me.
Makes me think of Bosman.
Bosman.
When I started obedience class with him, I thought this is going to be a big waste of time. and he got to be the demo dog.
Bosnia was awesome.
Yeah, he loved to do it. Okay, OLDSAP Charlie. Hi, Charlie.
I was wondering where you've been, Charlie.
Yeah, where's Charlie been? Haven't heard
I've
from
seen
him
you for a while. I hope you're okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, Robert and Janet. I've had my 1-year hyper female Mal for 8 months. I train her 3 to 4 times a day. We play tug, some basic bite work too. She also plays with my 3-year-old Mal and 4-year-old mixed under my supervision. She's been trained basic obedience and some tricks. I'm still proving the basic obedience because of her energy. I don't want to crush that drive because that's what I want for our future training lessons. How can I manage her super high energy and redirect it to something more beneficial on walks, training, and teach her to chill? Thank you and God bless. And there's a video here.
Okay, I'll watch that later. But
Okay.
I'm going to basically give you the sum of it. When you have a dog that has high drive, just use it to do obedience or whatever. You're not going to squash it. You're not going to want to suppress it, because if you start to overcorrect the dog in that drive, then the dog will become suspicious of those behaviors. And it's those behaviors where the dog will go through a wall to get a terrorist, or will go through, will go over rubble to find the person. That's what makes that dog that dog. And if that's not working for you, I'm not saying for you, but for a person, then you've got to get rid of that dog and get a dog that's more suitable. But generally, if you're getting a Mal, you're going to have that. So until you have a place to put that, either in a bite sport or in something that's going to really utilize that drive, like detections, those are things that really use a lot of drive. Like if you had a dog that was searching for, like a search and rescue dog, or a bomb detection and drug detection, it takes an immense amount. Like the dog has to be completely insane to keep searching and searching and searching until it finds what it's looking for. So there's no real way to get rid of that drive. I would just kind of channel it for now into games and obedience and games and obedience, so that you can definitely use it when you need it, because you're going to want to use it depending on what you're going to want to do with this dog.
All right, Lisa K says, my 11-month-old German Shepherd dog, we've had 4 months, will get excited and play bite. I've tried ignoring him, telling him no, and even taking him by the scruff and firmly saying no. As soon as I let go, he comes back at me biting harder. I know it's play, but it's too rough. A trainer said he sees me as a litter mate, not a leader. He doesn't do this to my husband. I have been careful not to baby him and provide firm and clear commands, but he still nips when he's excited. I do have an e-collar, and he will stop when he sees it come out, but I don't want to have to rely on that in the house. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, you don't want to rely on the e-collar to stop the nipping on you. What you want to do is change the way the dog sees you. And I think your trainer's right. And it's oftentimes the case that the dog will pick one person in the household, whether it's the husband, the wife, or a child, and kind of equate them as a litter mate or a pack mate. The way that usually happens is they find the person, and I'm not saying this to be politically incorrect, but who's the weaker person. And sometimes that is the husband. I've known plenty of dogs that have taken advantage of the husband and listened to the wife. You need to change the dynamic. You need to, first of all, have the dog dragging a line, and when the dog tries to nip and whatever, step on that line and say, hey, knock it off. Now, firm nose and grabbing the dog by the scruff of the neck will work if the dog respects your position. But if he doesn't respect your position, then he's going to challenge that position. So before you let him challenge it, establish it in a more fair way. Real simple ways to do that. Teach him a leave it. Teach him a round the clock, look in your eyes kind of game. Teach the dog to wait before you feed the dog. Little things like that will make the dog see the dynamic between you two differently and see you as somebody who's going to take your role. The other thing I would do with this dog, if he started nipping at me, I'd take him by the collar, I'd put him in a crate, I'd close the crate door, and I would just walk out of the room. Or if he's out in your backyard, I would just walk inside, close the door, and I would ignore him for a half hour, and I'd come back outside. The minute he did again, I'd walk away. Because it's a game, because the dog is trying to initiate play, if you just turn that play off, he's going to try to figure out another way to initiate that play. And you have to outsmart the dog. But it's not about beating up the dog. This is not a place where corrections are going to serve you as well as the shift in the relationship. You will have to correct the dog, but correcting a dog that doesn't see the relationship clearly or the structure of the relationship clearly is just really frustrating and unfruitful for the relationship.
All right, Lena T says, my German Shepherd dog will be 7 years old. She's great with pinch collars, positioned properly high behind her ears. I was wondering about transitioning from pinch to an e-collar. Her recall is great as long as I have a long lead on her, but as soon as it's off, it goes downhill. I think without the lead, she thinks it's playtime. What are your thoughts? At times, she intentionally gets her paws tangled up on the lead. She was asked to be a demo dog in obedience training, did great, but the setting was very structured, as it should be. Mm-hmm. I want to keep the training up. What safe new tasks for older dogs? I love your work.
Well, I love things like what Janet did with Jimmy, and that was like the stacking rings game. I think that's an awesome thing. I like scent games that I always play with Goofy. Look at the video that you just sent some wooden dowels and have them pick them out. I love that game. But I think you're asking two questions. I would put the dog on an e-collar. The problem with a line is usually you're always tugging at the end of the line. The dog learns this area thing. So the dog learns where that line ends, and when they're not near it and you can't correct them, then they go, oh, okay, this is the place where I can get away from it. So when I first started training dogs, this is going back, I think, close to 15 years, I would get a line that was like 100 feet long. And that was my first line. Then I went to a 50-foot, then a 30-foot, then a 15-foot, then a 10-foot, then a 6-foot. So I really took that time. So by the time the dog was perfect on a 100-foot line, 50 feet was easy for the dog to learn. So, with an e-collar, you're going to need a longer line because you can't just zap the dog. It's not like a recall. You want to teach the dog that pressure means you're correcting the dog, and the only way to turn that pressure off is to come back to you. That's a real fair way to do it. But just bumping a dog on an e-collar without that guiding them back to where you want them is really not fair. And that's where it can get a little confusing for the dog and people too. But I've got videos on that, so you should watch those.
All right, PJ says, hello from Canada. I am a 120-pound woman with a 20-month German Shepherd. I have had an e-collar unopened in my drawer for 1 year. Thanks to educational videos and research, I finally got my confidence to use it properly 3 days ago. My surprise, the first evening testing inside, I only had to use it once and only used beep function. He immediately refrained from bullying our 5-month male poodle. Today I tested outside among squirrels and other distractions. Once again, he responded by calming down and his demeanor relaxed. I felt I had control. Is this a false security for me? I'm going step by step. Is this too slow?
Well, it's never too slow. So don't look at it that way. It's for sure too soon to be, confident. But what you should be confident about is the process. The dog is understanding it. Now, the dog will learn just through natural drives to try to push through that. So don't put the dog in a position where he will fail and you can't correct him. I prefer not to use the beeping function or the vibrate function because those two functions generally on e-collar can't be regulated. They can't be dialed up or down. The stimulation can be turned up or down. So it gives you the ability that hypothetically, if the beep doesn't work, what are you going to do? You can't beep louder. You can beep a second, third, fourth time, but it didn't have any effect the first time. The stimulation level, if you start at let's say the dog is working at a 5 or a 6 or a 2 or a 3, it depends on the collar, you could then go up a little bit more to get a little bit more of the dog's attention, just like a leash pop. He's not working on a slight pop. You might have to put a little harder pop on, but I certainly would say you're heading down the right path, and you obviously have introduced it fairly enough where the dog understands what is expected, and he's trying to do the right thing. So good job. Just keep going.
Okay, Shannon C. says, you talked about wanting to bring the training world together, and I think I know one stumbling block. I grew up on a farm with border collies and English shepherds. Look at the dogs most positive-only trainers have. Border collies are very common. My border collie, Victory, chased cars until I told her no once sternly. Many borders are that sensitive. Do you think that works on my blue heeler? No. See, they think they aren't using negative reinforcement, and they are. Borders are just so sensitive, a look can shatter them. I'm not a trainer, just a herder fanatic. LOL.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, positive-only trainers or force-free trainers, whatever they call themselves, are very smart in that they only pick the dogs that their ability will work on. Then they only will show the end result of the process. It's rare that you actually get to see the process with them. And they won't put themselves in any situations where they have to use an aversive, even a stern no. But no, there is nothing purely positive. There's nothing force-free. Because I've always said this, and I've said this for 10, 15 years. The minute you put a collar and a leash on a dog, you've taken away the dog's freedom. So you've already restricted. And then people, like Zach says, oh, well, that's wrong and this and that, whatever. It's all nonsense. If you're you're just a dog trainer. You're not a positive or balanced or compulsive. You're a dog trainer. You want to have things in your toolbox that will help the dog you're dealing with. And you stated it quite clearly that a firm no will help, will be very easily understood by some breeds and drives of dogs. And on other dogs, a very firm physical correction is barely enough. So, yeah, you have to pick and choose. But thanks for that comment. It's a very good point.
All right. Tara H. says, 15-month-old Malinois, training for French ring. He has done scent work, dock diving, agility, and barn hunt. His obedience with a leash is very good. Training barn hunt for a couple months now. During the trial, he qualified until he would not let me get the collar on him. We were disqualified for him barking and nipping at me. Then another disqualification because it took me over 5 minutes to get the collar on him. I had absolutely no control. How do I work on unleashed control while he is in drive? I know it is me that needs the training, so he will obey at all times, but I'm not sure how.
I would use a drag line. I think a drag line is a really good tool because the idea of the dog learning that the collar is on or off gives the dog an amazing amount of freedom and opportunity because then you're stressing to get the collar back on. So you need to use a drag line. And I use drag lines on dogs all the time. And when I did the shelter dog programs, those dogs had, when I did play groups, those dogs would be dragging a line sometimes for the whole play session. If I didn't think I could trust them, I'd put a line, and I would get a thin line. Don't get a heavy line, but just get a slip lead or make yourself a little slip lead out of some tubular webbing and just slip it on the dog's neck and work the dog. And you'll start to see you don't want to make an issue where the dog knows, oh, now we're putting on an e-collar, or now we're putting on a slip lead, or now I've got a line and I pop you. The dog, it should be completely transparent to the dog, and I try to work that early on. The more you work with the drag line and you can kind of get the dog to understand that they're running around and nothing's happening, but yet you have control over them, the better it's going to be for that dog.
All right, Rashida J. says, hi, Robert. Thank you so much for all of the information you've shared with me about how to train and nurture my dog. He is amazing because of what I've learned from you.
Thank you.
This incident happened near me, and I'm wondering your thoughts. Emerging stories, so this is only like I have found. So there's a Facebook post there.
The what? I can't hear.
There's a Facebook post there.
Oh,
Do you want to?
Well, I would have looked at it before, but it's too late
I didn't
now.
see it either.
Yeah,
Sorry. Rashida will get back to that.
We'll do it next week.
We'll take a look at it.
Yeah, we'll get back. Well, I'll answer it in the next one, which will be the end of this week or the first part next week. I'm so sorry.
Okay, Joy says, after living in a condo, that's my job was to look through and I missed it. Sorry.
That's all
Sorry, Rashida. My fault. Okay, Joy said, after living in a condo, my dog and I moved to a single-family home several months ago. Since then, whenever a male visits the house that she doesn't know, she becomes extremely territorial and aggressive with them. She'll bark, stand up with her front legs on them, and growl. growl when they come near, and have raised hackles. During this state, she will still listen to commands, albeit slower than normal. If she sees me talking to them outside while she is inside, she will stop barking, but will be aggressive if she goes near them again. She is an unspayed Belgian Malinois, 2.5 years old.
You got to gain control over the dog. I mean, this is just the same thing. You know, dogs will assume a position in your life that they feel comfortable with or they feel they can get away with. There's no way your dog should be dominant over you. If you accept a person, that dog has to accept that person. And it generally happens where the dog doesn't do that because there's a breakdown in the communication between you and that dog. Unless that person is threatening to you or the dog has to listen to you. And it's going to come by you. First of all, don't let this dog off leash. The dog should have a drag line on the entire time. And when a dog goes up to somebody, you say, no, come here, sit. The dog doesn't need to meet people and do that. Because if the minute the dog puts his legs up and starts growling at somebody, that's going to be a face bite. And it's a very dominant behavior for the dog. The dog should be under your control. I can call Goofy, whatever he's doing, if he's in a park or he's here, is whatever. If I tell him, hey, come here, he's gonna come back because he knows I've corrected him for not coming back. Without you doing that, the dog is just, a ship without a rudder. So focus on that. Drag line, as soon as the dog goes out of your sight, hey, over here, sit, wait. And let the dog see you talking with people, interacting with people, and that you interacting with people is a very normal thing. So structure.
Okay, Joanna says, started e-collar training with Blue, 3-year-old Mal mix female. My goal is to bulletproof off-leash recall when under strong distraction, rabbits and dogs. She is well behaved when on leash, perfect recall, but when she's off leash, she doesn't respond under strong distraction. I want her to be able to be away from me, to chase a ball or explore. She needed a small correction when there were no distractions, but when there was a dog she didn't like, the stimulation made it worse. How do I train her with an e-collar so she doesn't associate stimulation and pain with another dog? Strong distraction.
Well, it's funny. Remember, Michael and I were talking about in the kitchen. You don't train your dog on an e-collar. You use the e-collar to either put a brake on the dog or give the dog gas, and that's critical. We train everything on a dog. Like, I have a Malinois that I've been helping this lady with for a couple of weeks, and I train the dog on a leash pop. Hey, boom, come here, and I bring the dog back to me. Then I'll replace that leash pop with the same verbal but a stim on the collar. That teaches the dog what I want. You sometimes have to take and put a little bit more pressure either on the leash pop or the stim, but that correction or that level of strength, whether you're doing it on a fur saver or on a e-collar or on a harness like some trainers do, you just need to increase that pressure to get the dog to turn around and then turn off that pressure. It's all about pressure and release. The dog must understand that when I do a behavior, this happens, and the way to turn that pressure off is to acquiesce, to obey, and that's what you got to do. But then you layer the e-collar into it. But be careful adding too much stimulus and then coming in and trying to squash that with the e-collar. The dog has to clearly know what you want, working distances and working situations, and then you can put the e-collar in.
Well, that was it.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Well, we got to look at that one video, and I'm sorry about that. We'll put it. You know what? Actually, hang on one second. Can I do this? No. If I was just recording, I could pause it, but I can't. So I will look at it. I will put the question in for next week, and I will have an answer for you, I promise. And we'll see you guys next week. I got a great podcast coming up. You're going to love it. Coming up real soon.